Hi, I'm Logan, and this is my week on holidays in Melbourne.
I remember you lift my spirit, with you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you make me stronger, can't go without it much longer. Remember, I remember you lift my spirit, with you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you make me stronger, can't go without it much longer. Remember. When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my life.
I've never been to Melbourne before, and I've heard great things about this city from my friends and family. The first thing I noticed as soon as I landed at Terminal 4 at Melbourne Airport is that this domestic terminal is quite large. Not the largest I've been to, but large enough that you will have to walk quite a distance from the boarding gates to the exit. After leaving the airport, I decided it was time to get lunch in the city. I heard from friends and family that using taxis and Ubers to get from the airport to the city can get very expensive, and that I should use the Skybus instead. The Skybus is a service that travels from Melbourne Airport straight to Southern Cross Station in the city and costs us $19.50 for a one-way trip. The service runs every 10 minutes from 6 AM to midnight, and from midnight to 6 AM, the Skybus runs every 15 to 30 minutes. Once arriving at Southern Cross Station, I took a walk around the city and decided to have a Philly cheesesteak with fries at Mason Dixon, an American sandwich bar in the Market Hall at Burke Place. The Philly cheesesteak is made from seasoned shaved grass-fed Victorian chuck steak, melted American cheese, onions, capsicums, and Dijon mustard on a toasted hoagie roll. So how did it taste? Nothing short of amazing, really. The combination of tender meat and thick American cheese melted in your mouth, while the vegetables provided a mild crunch and moisture to keep your taste buds balanced. I'd highly recommend this place and this meal. After lunch, I decided it was time to check into my hotel room. I was staying at Break Free Bell City in Preston, a 3-star hotel. For a last-minute booking, I managed to score a week's accommodation at $420. I got a single bedroom with a shower, a toilet that's under the shower, and a TV. The hotel is definitely a case of getting what you pay for. The staff are friendly, and the hotel comes with a pool and a gym. When you're out and about all day and only need a decent place to have a shower and sleep, Break Free Bell City provides more than enough. For a budget hotel, I'd recommend this joint. After checking into the hotel, I wanted to make the most of my first day in Melbourne and decided to head back into the city and explore Burke Street, including the shops on Burke Street Mall. What I noticed and enjoyed about travelling in the city is the busy yet warm atmosphere that it has. There are so many people from all walks of life having a good time because there is plenty to do, whether it be dining, entertainment, exploring, shopping, or even just appreciating the busy nature of the city itself. I guess if you're a city person like me, you'd love Melbourne, but if not, well, Melbourne may not be your scene. After a couple of hours wandering about, I decided to get my go-to caffeine fix to keep me going, a Dare Double Espresso iced coffee, but by then my lack of sleep the night before finally caught up to me, and no amount of caffeine could save me. So I decided to call it a night and head back to the hotel for a good night's rest. For breakfast today, I decided to get something fancy, so I headed over to Logan Nguyen's cafe and bought myself a long black and an eggs benedict, or as the restaurant calls it, an eggs benny. The eggs benny is made from pulled smoked ham hock on potato hash, peas, free-range poached eggs, mint hollandaise and watercress with apple. The eggs benny sure did taste delicious, but if you have a big appetite like me, then maybe you will need to order 2 of them, as they're not too filling. After breakfast, I went to St Kilda Beach. The weather wasn't the best, but it was early and sunny enough that the beach itself was quiet. There was barely anyone there. This can be a good thing, especially when you need to use the public toilets. The less people, the less likely the toilets will be destroyed by uncaring visitors. After having a relaxing walk along the beach, I decided to head over to the South Melbourne market. The market is a lively indoor market with stalls for produce, meat, seafood and various arts, crafts and apartment goods. The market also has a food court with a solid lineup of restaurants and cafes. The first thing that caught my eye when walking into the market were the oysters at the South Melbourne seafood shop. I'm a sucker for oyster bars at markets and bought myself a dozen. After downing some oysters with lemon and Tabasco sauce, I decided to try a sea urchin for the first time at the oyster bar by Aptus Seafood. I also had kimchi octopus and a storm clam with sesame dressing. How did the sea urchin taste? It tastes really similar to the yellow stuffing crabs, otherwise known as the crab's mustard, or if you really want to be technical, the crab's hepatopancreas. The sea urchin definitely has a seafood taste, but you don't get much in terms of volume and is quite expensive. So if you're a big eater like me, then I don't think sea urchin is worth the money. But hey, at least I know what it tastes like now. While both the kimchi octopus and clam with sesame dressing also tasted delicious, like the sea urchin, they're better off being fancy snacks than filling meals. After trying the fancy seafood, I decided to wander about the South Melbourne market. It's definitely one of those places you could spend a good day at with your friends and family. After the markets, I really started to feel hungry, especially because I didn't eat much the day before or even this morning, so I headed over to Noi Thai for lunch, a restaurant that claims to have the best Thai food on Smith Street. I discovered this restaurant on my way back to the hotel yesterday and had a yearning for Thai food. I had a large glass of Singha beer and pad ki mao. The pad ki mao is made from spicy stir-fried rice noodles, chili, basil and pepper, with the options of having tofu and vegetables, chicken or prawn as the quote, meat of the meal. I chose prawns. How did the pad ki mao taste? Delicious and filling, especially with the beer. All the ingredients were soaked in a generous amount of sauce and the chili was not too spicy. I guess that because I never went to another Thai restaurant in the area, Noi Thai technically is the best Thai food on Smith Street. After filling up on Thai food, I decided to walk my way back to the hotel and check out a couple of shops along the way. After walking quite a distance, I eventually made it back to the hotel room, and it was getting late, so I decided to try the food service at my hotel for dinner from JB's Diner and Burger Bar. I ordered a margarita pizza and salt and pepper calamari with aioli sauce. For hotel food, the food tasted really good. It's a bit on the greasy side, but it is definitely filling. For today, I wanted to visit two of Australia's largest shopping centres, Chadstone and High Point. My first stop was at Chadstone, the fashion capital of Victoria. Chadstone is Australia's largest shopping centre and has over 550 stores, designer boutiques and 38 luxury brands. Before I indulged in some clothes shopping, I headed over to Rice Workshop, a Japanese restaurant chain, for breakfast. I got myself a chicken katsu curry with udon noodles. The curry tastes pretty good, it's a hearty meal, and like Japanese curry, this curry is only mildly spicy. It's something that I'd recommend for colder days like today. Chadstone Shopping Centre is an epic place that you can spend an entire day at, much to the dismay of your wallet. But I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could visit both the largest shopping centres in one day. To get to High Point Shopping Centre from Chadstone using public transport, I had to go through Footscray, an area of Melbourne I've been told that has a very diverse, multicultural population, heavy with Vietnamese and East African people. I didn't spend too much time in Footscray. I took a walk around the area and found that some parts of it did remind me of Little Vietnam. And while it is not the flashiest looking area of Melbourne, there's definitely a charm to it. After my short pit stop in Footscray, I hopped onto the tram and made my way to High Point Shopping Centre, which was not too far away. High Point is almost as big as Chadstone, with over 500 stores and beautiful architecture. One of the shops that really caught my eye at High Point was That's Hot's Gifts and Collectibles. I didn't get any footage of this store, but shopping here was a very pleasant experience. The store has some rare collectibles, but most importantly, the staff were very friendly and professional. I'd recommend visiting them on their website if you're into this type of stuff like I am. After walking around the entire shopping centre, it was time to get dinner. For some reason, I still had a yearning for Thai food and went to Tuk Tuk Thai in the food court and ordered more pad ki mao again. This time though, it was spelled differently, and I wanted to see how different this meal could taste when cooked by different places. How did this pad ki mao taste? Well, it was filling for sure, but it had a very strong fish sauce taste. So much so that I could not even notice the textures of the food. If you love fish sauce, then I'd guess you'd love pad ki mao made by Tuk Tuk. As for me, I personally didn't enjoy this meal as much. After dinner, I decided to call it a night to give my legs a good rest after walking two of Australia's largest shopping centres in one day. For breakfast today, I decided to try out what Melbourne had to offer in terms of Vietnamese cuisine. I headed over to Pho Ba Ya Mi Cam Vietnam on Swanson Street. I read that this restaurant is authentic when it comes to Vietnamese food, and being of Vietnamese background myself, I had to test this place's authenticity. Ordered myself a Pho Ba Ya Dak Big, otherwise known as a beef and chicken special noodle soup. The dish is a traditional Vietnamese noodle soup with a beef and chicken broth, rice noodles, beef brisket, beef balls, tendon, tripe, sausage, bone marrow, drumstick, giblet, liver and heart. How did it taste? Delicious. The soup broth tasted smooth and flavoursome. It wasn't oily at all, and the rice noodles were really fresh and melted in your mouth. As for the meats, the brisket, beef balls, tendon, drumstick and tripe are very common in authentic Vietnamese restaurants in Australia. As for the sausage, bone marrow, giblet, liver and heart, I've never had any of these meats in a pho before in Australia, and while they do make this dish more authentic, they may be too authentic for my liking. After some great pho, I decided to head over to the Queen Victoria Market. The iconic market of Melbourne is a heaven for foodies and has plenty of shops that sell everything from fresh produce, meats, seafood, gourmet foods to cosmetics, clothing and souvenirs. There's also a food court and cafes if you just want to dine in. While wandering through the markets, I stumbled across Diane's Delights, a store that specialises in dips and antipasto. I've never seen antipasta skewers before and had to try this out, and boy was it a very tasty snack full of different flavours. I could have bought myself several had I not just eaten a good bowl of pho beforehand. After checking out the markets, I decided to take a walk towards the Melbourne Museum. Once I got to the museum, I got a call from Tazos, a great friend of mine, to catch up over a cup of coffee in Oakley. So the museum had to wait for another day, as it was going to be a long experience that I had no time for today. Before I departed for Oakley, I decided to check out Carlton Gardens very quickly. I've been told that Oakley is the Hellenic hub of Melbourne and that the area is like a mini Greece. Upon meeting Tazos at Oakley train station, we decided to get some fettuccinos at the Vanilla Lounge. By this time it was a couple of hours after lunch and the restaurant was still packed with people having jovial discussions over coffee. How do you know a place has a strong Hellenic presence? By their coffee culture, and Oakley's coffee culture is strong. After some refreshing fettuccinos, we decided to get some late lunch at Kalamera Souvlaki Art. I got myself a pork souvlaki, and oh man did it taste amazing. Both the pita bread and chips were fluffy, while the meat was juicy and tender, and vegetables were refreshingly crisp. It was getting late in the afternoon at this point, so Tazos and I decided to part ways. Before heading back to the hotel, I had a couple of stores I wanted to check out before the day was over. For breakfast today, I decided to get some hipster food out of curiosity, and the nearest place to my hotel I could find that sounded interesting was the Red Door Corner Store. Ordered a long black coffee and a gin and citrus house-cured ocean trout. The trout is made from potato waffle, horseradish cream fresh, trout roe and caviar, pressed cucumber, beetroot, smashed peas, fennel and mustard leaves, and a poached egg. I'm not going to lie, I don't look anything like a hipster, and it did feel somewhat awkward sitting at a restaurant wearing dark, practical clothing, surrounded by people wearing bright, not so practical clothing. Apart from that though, how did the food taste? For a sophisticated list of ingredients, I'm going to give a simple answer. Pretty good. It might not look like you get much in terms of size, but the trout and the waffle are deceptively filling. After a somewhat awkward but tasty breakfast, it was time to go to the Melbourne Museum. The Melbourne Museum is huge and will take a long time to experience to its fullest. To get your money's worth, I would not recommend rushing this experience. After the museum, I spent a good couple of hours walking around the city. Tonight's plan was to head down to the Crown Casino with Tazos for a beer, but before that I had to have a shower and a change of clothes back at the hotel, so I decided to have dinner there at the Chill restaurant and bar. I had an Angus beef Scotch fillet steak, cooked rare, served with plum puree, scorched tomatoes and horseradish sauce with a side salad of cherry tomato, baby cos lettuce leaves, basil, date pistachios and white balsamic vinegar and an espresso martini. The dish was beautifully presented. This is the first time I've ever had horseradish sauce with steak and I really liked it. The chilled spiciness with the horseradish works well with the warm meatiness of the steak. The salad tasted refreshing as well. The date pistachios added a sweet kick to the dish, and as for the espresso martini, it tasted good. Not the best I've had, but when the steak is that good, it can be forgiven. After a solid dinner and a good clean up after a sweaty day walking about, it was time to hit the Crown Casino. I'm not a big fan of gambling myself, but I must admit, the Crown Casino was one of the most alluring places I've been to. The entire complex has some of the most beautiful architecture I've ever seen. Even if you do not like gambling, there are plenty of other things to do. There are vibrant bars, clubs, luxury shops, a lively food court, a whole range of restaurants and cafes along the Riverwalk and the Riverwalk itself.
And the early bird hit its mark, so she getting dressed for work when it's dark. First in the class, first on the dance floor. First sight, it works like a charm. New thing, she probably won't do that. In between girls and orange is a new black. Healthiest time besides that. And the cocktails take her mind off the fact there's a lot going on and she don't want to deal. Stuck in the middle among all the fields. And the broke heart took all summer to heal. Don't need to say it, the struggle is real. And even when I get that I don't, cause it's her story, so it's her story. We just seeing the parts that she choose to show us. Say,
all my better days, where you running from? When you come back again, won't you hang around a little longer? All my better days, I don't know where you go, I don't know what to say, but you don't know what you're missing.
She gonna run shit, and I wouldn't bet against it. She's everything, and oh my
For my only Sunday in Melbourne, I visited two Sunday morning markets, the Camberwell Sunday Market and the St Kilda Esplanade Market. The Camberwell Sunday Market is a flea market held every Sunday by the Rotary Club of Baldwin. Entrance to the market is a gold coin donation. The market has almost 400 stallholders and offers all types of second-hand goods, clothes, records, antique toys, jewellery, artwork and keepsakes. Every Sunday has something different to offer at this market. There's also a food at this market and it was the perfect place to get my breakfast. For breakfast, I had a sizzling sausage. I got myself a spicy debrasina with extra eggs, onions and sauerkraut with tomato sauce and mustard. This is perhaps the best breakfast I've had in my entire journey in Melbourne. It's simple but filling, spicy and warm, exactly what I needed with a hungry stomach on a cold Sunday morning. After Camberwell Sunday Market, I headed over to St Kilda Esplanade Market. This market offers iconic Melbourne arts and crafts. It was getting hot by this time of day, so I treated myself to a lemonade ice cream and a spiral spud. The spiral spud comes from Slinky Spuds, a blue food truck at the market, and what's good about this shop is a self-serve counter where you have 10 options of seasonings to put over your spud. For the rest of my relaxing Sunday in Melbourne, I headed back into the city and did some leisurely walking. For dinner, I really wanted to try out the food court at the Crown Casino. What caught my eye there were the giant sausage rolls at Roomba's. It didn't taste bad, it was meaty and filling, but overall simple. The fries looked like they would be very salty because of the generous amounts of seasoning used, but surprisingly they didn't taste like anything. I guess if you don't want to override or challenge your taste buds, I'd recommend this meal. After the sausage roll, I figured it was time to get some dessert and got myself a lime cheesecake and an ice of coffee from Calatrava. I don't have much of a sweet tooth myself, but I was very impressed with the large lineup of cakes this place has to offer. The lime cheesecake tasted amazing. The texture of the cheese was silky smooth and the cake had a constant, subtle taste of lime throughout. As for the iced coffee though, it tasted alright for cafe standards. Wasn't the worst I had, nor was it the best. Just good enough. To start my day off, I went to visit Coburg, an area north of the city that is known as the land of falafels, prisons turned real estate and cheap coffees. After taking a walk down Sydney Road, a road populated with many kebab and falafel restaurants, I decided to head over to a collectible store in North Coburg, Go Figure Collectibles. The store has an impressive range of action figures and pop culture merchandise, both new and old. Be careful though, if you love this type of stuff like I do, then this place could be very dangerous to your wallet. After checking out some cool collectibles, I thought it was time to get some breakfast, so I headed over to Waffle On and got myself a lait de bird, a baguette with ham, cheese, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, eggs and mayonnaise. While the recipe sounded simple, it was a refreshing breakfast nonetheless. To follow up the baguette, I got myself an iced coffee at Isis on Melbourne's quintessential laneway, Centre Place. The iced coffee was perhaps the best iced coffee I've had in this entire trip. Not because it was served in a mason jar, but because it genuinely tasted amazing. It had a strong coffee bitterness that worked well to contrast the sweetness of the ice cream. Most iced coffees I have from cafes simply just add ice cream or just a lot of milk to a regular shot of coffee, so it tastes too sweet or too bland. Once breakfast was done, I went over to check out Sea Life Melbourne Aquarium. Tickets to the aquarium may be considered expensive by some, but the aquarium is large and has a wide range of sea life. You could spend hours, if not a whole day here, so I think it is well worth it.
Meet them. Don't hesitate.
By the time I finished at the aquarium, the sun was setting down. I wanted to make the most of my last night in Melbourne and headed over to Eureka Skydeck. The Skydeck offers a skyline view of the city from 88 floors high, and the elevator takes about 38 seconds to reach the 88th floor from ground level. The view from the Skydeck is amazing, but unfortunately for tonight, it was raining. So I was actually in Melbourne for 8 days. Why did I call this video a week in Melbourne then? It had a catchier title. For my last day in Melbourne, it was raining, but that wasn't going to stop me from making the most of my trip. I decided to head over to Chinatown for a late breakfast. Chinatown in Melbourne is a decent sized area. If you're an indecisive person when it comes to food, you'd struggle in Chinatown because there are way too many options. As for me, I wanted to try something new. After walking about Chinatown for a couple of hours, I eventually chose to eat at Chef Lanka City Cafe, a Sri Lankan restaurant in Paramount Centre on Little Bourke Street. I bought myself a large plate of fried rice with goat curry, devil's chicken, curried potatoes, and curried beans with a papadum. This is one of the most colourful meals I've ever seen in my life, and it has a range of wonderful flavours and textures. There's a savoury crunchiness from the beans and papadums, a soft warmth and tenderness from the goat curry and potatoes, and a crisp vinegary spiciness from the devil's chicken. All in all, it was an awesome meal, and I look forward to trying more Sri Lankan cuisine in the future. After late breakfast in this rainy weather, I headed back towards the hotel to pack my bags. On the way, I spotted a type of restaurant I've always wanted to eat at but never had the chance to. An American-style diner with bottles of ketchup and mustard on each table. Turns out this place isn't actually called a diner, despite the sign saying so. It's called Suki Lala. I'd only just eaten a couple of hours ago, but given that I only had a few more hours left before I would leave Melbourne, I figured why not? I got myself a cheeseburger with fries and a meal and a long black coffee. The cheeseburger is made with 130 grams beef patty, mustard, cheese, ketchup, pickles and Russian dressing, and the fries had a generous amount of seasoning on them. How did it taste? Simple yet amazing. The meat patty was deliciously juicy and the cheese tasted subtle enough to allow the condiments to provide sweet and tangy flavours. It was a well balanced tasting cheeseburger and the fries made this meal more filling than it had to be. I'd recommend getting additional fries if you're really hungry, but if not, the cheeseburger alone is filling enough. After polishing off the cheeseburger and fries, it was finally time to head back to the hotel and pack my bags. So what can I say about my experience in Melbourne for just over a week? I've fallen in love with this city. While some people do not like this city because it is too busy and it has too many people, I love how diverse it is. There's a colourful mixture of people from all different types of backgrounds. Even though I experienced Melbourne by myself, I never really felt alone. I didn't feel like I was in a place where people treated me differently because I didn't meet a certain level of socio-economic status, physical appearance, or the fact that I was travelling by myself. While Melbourne, like every other place on earth, does have its fair share of fuckwads, this city has a general aura of freedom, where it is okay to be different. Given how big this city is and how diverse its people are, there was a very good chance that you would encounter someone who would share similar, if not the same interests to yourself. And that was my case. In my journey I encountered plenty of wonderful people from all different backgrounds. I'm going to miss this city, but as Arnie would say,
I'll be back.
I've been dancing in the moonlight. I've been laughing with the firelight. Living, I've been giving, I've been living with the firelight. I'll be fine, fine. I'll be fine, fine. and fall if I take one more step. The same